Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Terrence Duncan, and I am the host of Mahogany Thoughts, and I'm with my co-host, the Queen, Carmel Brown.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Mr. Butler, Terrence Butler, is out on location again. This time he is at the volleyball gym. His daughter's playing volleyball. He hates the fact that his daughter has to wear those short shorts in volleyball, so he always has this look on his face where he's mean mugging. I'm not mad at him. I don't have a daughter. So I don't know how I would act. So I'll probably be out there like Devo with a really tight fishnet shirt or something like that and a gold chain. But anyways, Butler, I had to give you the business on that one, but we was thinking of you.
I went
Um,
through the same thing with track and field. I went to my daughter's high school track meet. She had her whole little track warm ups on. I was like, "Yeah, go baby, we get ready to get it." Man,
right.
she pulled those things out. I wanted to close everybody's eyes.
All it was like this.
Yeah, I wanted it to go dark, brother. Cut the lights out. That's my baby out there.
Man, it's like everybody go to Six Flags, get those glow sticks, turn off the lights and stuff, and just all you see is her little special glow stick running and stuff. That's my girl. That's my girl.
Man, she grew me up fast, bro.
That is make
Fast.
Absolutely. Well, that is the legendary Tessie Amos. He is back again for our third podcast episode. He is now officially a friend of the show. He's always welcome to use his platform because this is a platform to uplift Black voices. And the same with the next two guests, my soror, Cecilia Carter. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Good news for soror. She actually took a leap of faith, and as of January 1st, she started her own business. She's on her own. She's completely independent and very, very proud of her and stuff. So I'm always cheering
Thank
for
you,
you guys
Brad.
from afar. Absolutely, absolutely. And I've had the pleasure to meet the nationally recognized Rachel Jackson. Yeah, I was stalking your Facebook page and stuff. I was like, wow, look at her. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. Good evening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to get into it. It's because it's a panel discussion. We're going to kind of cut off some of the niceties that we do when we initially start the show. This is a very important topic. Black mental health has not gone away. It will not go away. And we're going to keep on talking about it on this show again and again and again. And really, for those who are listening for the first time, the scope of this particular show is to ensure that we're lifting Black voices on topics such as healthcare, education, employment, financial independence, and social justice. And so we always bring a variety of guests, people that you would normally see at a store or just driving down the street, and they look just like you, just like me. And you never know what the talents that they bring to the table. And so it's always a blessing to be able to have local talent to be able to be on the show and highlight their expertise as necessary. So we're going to get into it, presentation time, and Carmel, we're going to start making up some sponsors. So who is this going to be sponsored by?
We're going to make up some sponsors.
Yeah.
Well, this is sponsored by Project Compassion, NFP, and Club Exhilaration, LLC. I'm throwing Rachel's business out there.
that was smooth. That was really smooth. Okay, so presentation time. That was a mouthful, so I can't remember that. So we have our sponsors. So this is our 17th episode, the second episode of the season. Once again, I am the host. The topics for this particular podcast, we're going to cover cultural competency and therapy, critical issues in mental health today, advantages and disadvantages of virtual therapy, parenting during and post-pandemic, building and modeling resilience, and self-care strategies for parents and caregivers. Ira Banks and
Right, everyone. And I really just want to emphasize the importance of tonight's conversation. We did have a panel last year on mental health, and it went really well. And now here we are 1 year later, coming out of the pandemic, and those of us clinicians that provide mental health services have seen a significant increase in the number of individuals and families that we have served. And we've also received a lot of feedback just from society overall about the importance of mental health. And so in today's time, it's critical that we continue to cover this topic. I've been a licensed clinician for 15, 16 years, and just seeing the increase in importance and the necessity for mental health services today has been quite alarming. And we're here for it. We are here for it. We are enjoying being able to educate our community and to serve our community. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages in virtual therapy. Those of us who are in private practice, and even those in community mental health as well, had to rapidly switch over to virtual therapy last year around this time. And many of us had never, ever had a virtual session before. So it's been quite the change for mental health and just health, physical health as well. Our medical professionals have also had to switch over to virtual sessions. And so we just want to talk about some of the challenges and also some of the advantages with virtual therapy. Cecilia, I'd like to start with you, if you don't mind. So are you back to face-to-face sessions? And if not, how long have you been doing virtual sessions and what's been your experience with it?
Sure. So I am not yet back in the office. Um, just as again, just to take precautions, and so we haven't gone back into the office yet. So we started virtual sessions March of last year. There were some learning curves, but overall, it has been a really good experience. I find that the same level of rapport that you're able to have in in-person sessions, you can also have those in virtual sessions. And so it has gone really well. Just being able to connect with clients, being able to see them in their natural environments, which also like creates this space of comfort for them, and to make it more accessible. We have been able to find times like in between lunch sessions or play dates that has made it much more accessible than maybe having to come into the office for face-to-face. So I have found it it's been an overall good experience.
Good, good. Okay. And moving forward, do you anticipate that insurance companies will continue to cover clients for teletherapy, or do you think that there'll be a strong push to go back to face-to-face services?
I am hearing different things from different insurance providers, but overall, what I'm hearing is that there is an increasing need for mental health services, and insurance companies want to be able to provide for the needs of their clients. And so we throughout this process, we would get a expected time to start face to face, and then they would push it back to a certain time. And at this point, I think we've like pushed coverage for virtual sessions back at least 3 times. And so I honestly foresee them continuing that process of kind of pushing it back until we can have some more safety around coronavirus and protecting clients.
Okay. All right. Great. Tessie, what has been your experience with virtual sessions, and are you back to face-to-face?
I am back to face to face. I was only down for just a little while when all of this first started. My office is 16 feet by 9 feet, so I was able to convert where I had a clerical space in the back of my office and I did therapy in the front. I was able to reconvert that, and I moved to the back of the office and I left the clients in the front. So we actually sat about 13 feet away. I bought no plug at all, but I bought all the microband I could find. And I have been cleaning feverishly before and after every client and allowing them to come to the office and allowing them to keep their mask on if they feel comfortable, even though we have the proper social distance. So, but as far as virtual, it was awkward for me at first. It was something that even when I was going through grad school and it was and telehealth was coming up, I swore against it because I didn't understand how we could make the necessary bond over the phone or over FaceTime and things of that nature. But what I found was that the clients were motivated to receive help, and that in their own natural space they could control the environment a little bit better, and they actually opened up even more virtually. So I am now a fan and a proponent of virtual. Again, we're trained to meet the client where they are. And I think that we will always have some clients that will feel like they would rather be at home and do this thing virtually. And one of the biggest concerns I had was I just didn't want my clients, because my private practice started in January of 20, and then we had the pandemic start in March of 20. So all of my clients, all of my private clients were new to me at the time, and I didn't want them to think that I was just hanging them around so that I could keep getting paid. I wanted them to know that I was still concerned about their mental health, and that I was still there, and I was still a resource. uh, and so that's how it was for me, and it proved to be very good for them and me as well.
Great, great. I agree. And you made some really good points. Cecilia, you as well. Rachel, what has been your experience? And I know that you are still doing virtual sessions. Are you doing any face-to-face sessions?
No, not doing any face-to-face. I've actually found that, especially when you're working with young people, they are most comfortable doing it virtually. Actually, those that live in Missouri and come over from Illinois find it comfortable and easier to just do telehealth. But the young people have really adapted, and I feel like opened up more because I think the office kind of creates a slight intimidation where on camera they're in their element, they're in their room. Some of them are just in a safer space. They put their headphones on and they just feel like they can be free. So I found that some of the sessions have actually had better breakthroughs being virtual.
Right, right. That's good to know. And that's a really good point. I think that you somebody lost the volume.
I know I understand what you said, Rachel. I believe that to be true, and I attributed that to adolescents always being on their phones and stuff like that. Anyway, being on their phones and tablets, they're more comfortable there. That's how they communicate with their friends. I know that my young adult children communicate with me from upstairs to downstairs via
Right,
FaceTime, and it's like
right.
this is weird, but I get it. That's where they are. That's their thing, and I think that's why they feel so comfortable doing it. Some of my shall we say older clients that they prefer to come to the office, where the adolescents still prefer to do it telehealth.
Good, good, good. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. So, have you guys had an increase or decrease in no call, no show appointments since you started virtual sessions? Anybody can go first.
Everybody's attending appointments. I mean, I think I might have one that you're like, he's not gonna show up, but all like they don't miss. It's too easy not to miss it at this point. I mean, they are all attending. So if you didn't eat and take your break, you're in trouble because they're coming back to back to back.
Absolutely.
I
Good.
had a
Yeah, I
question.
would agree. And even to the fact of because they're so it's so convenient now. I have folks that are coming in saying, "Oh, I'm driving," and I have to say, "Wait a minute, what? Let's pull to the side first. Let's let's park before we continue."
Right.
But they're finding spaces at church, at work. It just it's so much more convenient. So my no shows have decreased a lot since then.
Good, good. All
I would
right.
agree. I would agree with that same sentiment. The only bad week I would say we had was that one week of winter we had, and I kind of didn't expect anybody to show up, but I kind of felt like they could have called. They didn't have to do the no part. I get the I get the I'm not coming part, but I don't get the no, the no call part. But other than that, it's been pretty solid, man. These people are really coming out to get the help that they need.
Good. That's good to hear. Do you guys see any confidentiality issues while providing services virtually?
Yeah, and I have to admit that's been the most uncomfortable part for me because especially with the young people, they just want to kind of go in, but it's like, are you in a, secure place, a secluded spot where you can talk, or you have parents trying to talk with their kids in the house? And so that's been the most uncomfortable for me is trying to maintain the HIPAA privacy as well as keep confidentiality with just the clients being able to share. And you can always tell because their eyes are kind of going over you like, and you don't want to sound like, are you by yourself? Is everything okay? Because you're trying to see what they're looking at. So that's been really the biggest thing for me is encouraging. The headphones are saying, why don't you call? And to Cecilia's point, that whole I'm driving while trying to do virtual, it's like, no, you need the stable internet so we can get through your session, but also your safety.
Sure. Good, good.
Just a quick curiosity question for the panel. Do you feel that once everything starts opening after the pandemic starts to subside, do you feel like there's going to be a concern about a drop off in patients doing telehealth therapy, or do you think they're going to remain with that, or kind of go with in person?
Personally, I think there'll be a little bit of both. Right now, I have a significant amount of clients who prefer virtual sessions. They, especially people suffering from conditions or disorders such as anxiety, and panic disorders and agoraphobia and things like that, where they tend to panic or become uncomfortable in public settings and around other people. So being at home in their environment is much better for them, and they tend to just have a better session. And some of them are basically saying that they hope that they can continue virtual sessions ongoing. And then there are also clients that prefer to see their therapist face to face. I actually had a client call within the last couple of days wanting to get started with therapy, but she was looking for someone that was seeing clients in the office face to face. And she actually almost didn't start seeing me because I'm doing virtual sessions still. And I ended up trying to find her someone that would see her face to face. And she ended up staying with me because she was just impressed that I went the extra mile to help someone that wasn't even gonna be my client. So we ended up working it out that way. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are specifically looking for someone to see them in the office as well.
I think it can be used as a great option for clients, just like an extended service for us as clinicians, something that we can offer even post pandemic. If you're comfortable at home, it's like wherever you can get comfortable to do this work at. That's the most important thing. So I know I'll always offer it. I won't ever like say I don't do virtual anymore. I understand it better now. I've practiced it for going on a year now, and so I'm quite comfortable with it, and I intend to offer that as an option to my clients moving forward.
Sure. Great.
And see, I think that's a good point about just being comfortable and getting the help you need where you are. And I think that that's what this pandemic has done is given people permission to get help. And there's been a way for them to get it. When you look at the fact that most of the cancellations occur because of all the driving and the back and forth and the traffic. But now, if I'm too low to get ready, I can stay at home, cut the camera on, and still get the help. And I think that that's been the biggest plus is just being able to get the help where they are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. Cecilia, did you want to add anything?
No, I agree with everything that everyone just said. I think the virtual option removes a barrier. And that is something that, as you said, if you're struggling with anxiety disorder, if you're struggling with depression, I've spoken with clients who are kind of, especially teens, they're laying in the bed with the cover over their head, and we're able to start the dialogue. And as we go through the process, they're sitting up, they're laughing, they're talking, and I don't think that would have happened had they been in the office. So to be able to meet them where they're at, it's definitely a barrier removed, and it's a support for us as therapists.
I will add though, one difficulty doing virtual is doing assessments. I've been finding it very difficult to get the assessments done accurately because the interpretation of what people hear over the camera versus face to face when you can read body language and kind of tell they don't get it is remarkable. I've only had like I have one client whose mother is also a therapist, and so she was able to help him get through his assessments. But many of my clients that I've had to do assessments on have struggled, and we've had to do them over sometimes more than once just to get the accuracy that we need in order to work and move forward.
It's great.
So for, I guess for people who might be hesitant to join telehealth or teletherapy, what kind of recommendations would you have for those parents, or, you know, those parents who might be kind of like on the fence who want to get the children involved, or even for themselves, about teletherapy?
One of the biggest things that we talk about in therapy is this idea of curiosity, going in without any expectations and just kind of seeing what the possibilities are. And so I would encourage them just to become curious about what it would look like to speak to someone via telehealth. And if they just, if they so chose that, it wasn't a great option for them, they can always find a provider that are seeing folks in person, because there are a lot of providers who have gone back into the office. But again, the word that I will offer is curiosity, not going in with any expectations, and just considering all of the possibilities that are available.
That's excellent, Cecilia. That is the word, curiosity. Just come on in here and see what it's about. And so that I always give my clients, like new clients, I always give them an option on night one. In the formal introduction of myself, I tell them who I am and how I got where I am, in the hopes that they get comfortable with me and feel like that they're in some place where they can get help. And so I always ask them before we start, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like you've landed in the right spot to get the help you need? Thus far, I haven't had anyone that says they don't feel comfortable. I just think that that's organic and real, to let them know that you can actually get up and walk away from this whole process. I'm willing to take that hit because I also want you to get the help that you need. And if you tell me to my face you don't feel comfortable, then we can go through my entire referral list while you're sitting there and find you someone that you are comfortable with. So.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I try to encourage parents to do is take away the mental health aspect of it and try to look at it more from mental wellness, and try to present it in a way of just checking in, just to see how you're doing during this pandemic. So understanding that, that's how I go into it. Just like, hey, we're just checking in. I think I've seen more toppers and ponytails and side views since then, but to Cecilia's point, you see them emerge out of that time. So it's about letting them know we're just chatting. Hey, I'm just here. Let's chat it up. Let's talk it up. And we stop when they're comfortable with stopping. And so it's not pushing them to get into anything deeper or unnecessary than they need to for that time. So it's encouraging parents to say we're just doing more of a wellness check. How are you emotionally? How are you doing with this? How are you doing with not seeing your friends? So when they go in talking about that, it's a good segue for me to lead into other things if they're open and responsive. But the teenagers have been like amazing with just really getting into this telehealth and making it work for them in some type of way.
Good. Great. Good stuff. All right.
Okay, so the second topic for this particular panel discussion involves parenting during and post-pandemic. And the topics that are going to be covered and facilitated by Carmel is structure, planning, and flexibility, initiating conversations with children about feelings, seeking help when needed, communicating with schools and employers, as well as self-care.
Yes, this is critical, this piece here, because those of us who have been working with parents and children over this past year have seen a lot of issues, a lot of changes, and parents have really had a lot of struggles, and they've had their hands full as they've tried to juggle homeschooling or virtual learning at home. Plus, their careers are now home, not to mention everything that they tend to do at home anyway. So everything's just kind of dumped into one pot. So they're doing their household chores, they're doing virtual learning, they're logging on, doing meetings for work. And it's been really tough for parents. And so It's also been tough for children because the children don't have the typical structure that they would usually have. Some of them have experienced a decline in their academic performance. A lot of the teenagers have been depressed, actually. And a lot of the younger children have experienced anxiety that have never experienced it before. So I'd like to talk about that. What's been you guys' experience with your clients and your families in this manner?
I think you're exactly right. I think it's been a double-edged sword. I think that what we've seen is the kids have really been overwhelmed by the constant of being in some areas that are toxic for them and unhealthy. So if we're just being totally honest, home isn't the best place for some children. Being able to escape and get out from school and activities and go to friends' houses, that has truly been therapeutic for them prior to actually getting some help. But now they're there all the time. And so you find that the children are overwhelmed, and then you find that some parents just could not balance, as a mom, just when the reality of I can't do therapy at home and my daughter's out here and I'm hearing all this noise about turning on her camera. And so it does create this overwhelming feeling. And then just listening to the other parents respond that just trying to find their footing. And so I think that that's where a lot of the patience and graces of helping everybody understand we're all in this together. Like, Cecilia started in with that. Like, we're all in it together. But I think a lot of children struggle because they were now just being overwhelmed. And then the parents begin to struggle because guess what? School was a break for them. And so what you see is just an overflood of emotions and balance. And, I think Kurt Franklin is all of us at some point. You just explode because you are truly overwhelmed by everything that's going on with what's happening. But I think it's trying to balance itself out now because everything is trying to go back to normal in some type of way.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you, Rachel. As a parent myself, I found myself so overwhelmed, as you said, trying to offer sessions, and my 6-year-old is trying to do virtual learning, and he's asking me questions, and I'm trying to. It has been very difficult for parents and the children alike, and so what I found is that parents are calling in saying I'm losing it, like my spouse is at home, and so if you have issues with your spouse, now you are stuck with him or her. You got your kids. It's just a lot going on. And what I found is that when we have these unrealistic expectations about what it should be, we sit in anxiety, we suffer unnecessarily. And so a lot of the work has been helping folks to see this is a situation that we have never experienced ever in life. So there is no protocol. So maybe we should offer grace and compassion to ourselves and take the expectations off. If he doesn't feel like doing his math today, maybe he shouldn't. Maybe you should just allow yourself not to um, um, reach all of the expectations or all of these extra things that you put on yourself, because it is difficult. And what you find is it's just easier to go with the flow instead of fighting the wave. Ride the wave, and it becomes a little easier.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that grace and that permission. So you're really saying I can have error here. It's okay. It's okay to, not have it all together. I remember when I realized my daughter was missing 15 assignments. It's like, okay, so what we're doing this weekend, let's get caught up, because it was a new system and how does this work? And it was just a lot. But I think that because we've experienced it from that parent hat, when working with our clients, we can give them that permission to have that error and to make those mistakes. And guess what? Pause today. Pause is not going to happen. So that's really good to help them understand it, because we know from firsthand experience.
Well, I had it from a different a different end of the spectrum at my house. My youngest son is 20 years old, so I had 3 returning adults home. Right, wow. But so my experience was very different. It was to have I missed them until they got here. Just you heard what the parents to do was just like what Cecilia said. Just, hey man, take it easy, man. This thing is hard on all of us. It strained our relationships because it's easy to not get into a conversation tonight because we all got to go to work in the morning. But when everybody gonna be at home, we got to go ahead and deal with that. And so for the first time in a long time, families had the opportunity to really sit down and deal with some things. Personally, I found out that I was kind of lazy during the pandemic. I didn't know that I didn't help out with laundry so much. I thought what I was doing was sufficient, but as it turns out, it was never enough. So I got an opportunity to step my game up and do more laundry and help out around the house. And I was ready to go to work, and I'm like, dude, I've been watching Sports Center all day. I got to do something different. So I would always remind parents that it's an opportunity for you to look at yourself as well and make sure that you're holding your end of the bargain. Make sure that you're not taking someone's hard work for granted. And with those children, just to see what they go through during the day, to actually see their frustrations, to find out exactly where they're stuck at in, say, math or writing or spelling or something like that. You know, you have to pay attention to that. And I think it gave everybody a chance to look at everybody.
I can be in a greater respect because just that little time about drove me crazy. But yes, I definitely think we were able to identify some areas that, you know what, this is a little different. And you do have to give graces now to your educators because we truly became them. And we recognize that there's a lot more to this thing, especially when you have 20 little people or middle schoolers not doing what they're supposed to.
That's great. That's good stuff, guys. And thank you all for bearing with me with my voice this evening. I'm hanging in there. All right. So before we move on, I do want to ask the panel if you have any further tips for parents during this time, like maybe some things that you all believe they should look out for, maybe changes in behaviors and or symptoms with their children or changes in their routine, things like that.
Well, the first thing is I think Cecilia said it best. Don't be afraid to take a break. Don't be afraid to say, you know what? Okay, we'll get to it later. You don't have to do that today. Like, take it off of you two and taking it off of them because you're teaching them a valuable lesson later. One of the greatest things about being in private practice for me is that I gauge how much I work, when I work, how hard I work, and how long I work. And that's been the most fruitful for me. And I want my children to understand that. I want everybody, all the next generation coming up, to understand that we don't just have to plug ourselves into a job. And if we do, then let's make sure that we temper and save some time for ourselves. Um, so the second one for me would be to go ahead and find some way to do some self-care. You have to find some way to unplug and get away. I've sent my wife away many a time for a mani pedi, offered massages, ones that I give and ones that she can go get, just to show appreciation and get her out of her normal routine. Um, you know, it's all about, you know, just if gaining that deeper respect for one another, seeing how hard that each other is working, and appreciating family for what family is. You know, it takes all of us to make this thing work. My adult children coming back home, although sometimes burdensome, has also been one of the greatest gifts in the world, because I just don't have to do as much around here because I got some help. I got a couple of men around here that work with me, you know, so it's a beautiful thing. And I get to show them hands on how to do this man thing, whereas they would just be out there in the world trying to figure it out. They get to come back one more time, you know, without being judged because it was a pandemic. You have to look at them like they were failures. You get to come back because it was a pandemic and watch this man thing one more time and go ahead and try to get it right.
That's great. That's great. All right. Thank you,
Um,
Tess.
oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I would offer that, and it's come up pretty often for parents that, you know, when you're, especially if you have small children, it's difficult to get away, right? And so some of the things that you can do maybe for parents in the morning, excuse me, I always talk about morning rituals, set your intention for the day so that you can prepare yourself so that you are relaxed and calm and you can attend to your child without all of the angst or the anger or the frustration. And so maybe that looks like waking up an hour earlier. Um, um, setting your intention for the day, doing some meditation, listening to your favorite music. We often talk about those five senses. If you can check into your five senses, that's not something you have to leave your house to do. You know, something that you can see, something that you can touch, thinking about these things that make you feel good within your household, something that that you can smell that will make you feel good, lighting some candles, walking around the basement or walking around your apartment. Um, Checking into those five senses is a way to self-soothe, and you can also teach your children to do that as well. But mainly setting aside, that's awesome. And so teaching everyone to pay for themselves and to honor themselves, I think, is a way that you can use to kind of lessen the tension within the home with everybody being at home. So
That's great. Rachel, did you want to add anything about maybe behavioral changes that parents might need to look out for that might indicate they need to seek professional help?
Yeah, definitely. If you start to see that your child is the social distancing is becoming more isolation, I think that there's a conversation there. Unfortunately, even though they don't have physical uh, togetherness, that's social media. So they're being drawn into more of the social cyber stuff, and just making sure that they're not seeing kids having fun and doing things and feel like they're being excluded. So constantly letting them take moments to maybe just get out for a little while. And it's not okay if they're constantly in the bed. I mean, it's just one day to veg out, but if you're seeing that that's going on for a long period of time, decrease in eating and change in sleeping habits, it's probably best, again, just have them talk to someone to make sure that everything is okay.
Sure. Great. Great. Thank you all. Well, I want to go ahead and move beyond parenting. That's really good information. And if anyone watching needs more information or guidance in this area, you can contact any of the panelists. They have provided their information here for you to contact them for services. I definitely want to talk a little bit about any specific barriers that you guys have observed or that you'd like to discuss this evening to treatment, specifically for minorities. And I'll start that off, by the way. For minorities, sometimes some of the barriers that have been pretty common have been stigma and lack of awareness with regards to mental health and mental illness. Just not ever having spoken with someone who's seen a therapist or who's taken medication for any type of mental illness. So just thinking that that's a bad thing, that's a negative thing, and somehow that makes them not capable of living a regular life, not realizing that there are many Americans walking around that have various disorders and take various psychotropic medications and who are completely successful in their daily lives and in their careers. And in fact, they are more likely to be successful if they are following through with treatment and seeking the proper help. So some of the other barriers that have been listed by various entities are things like transportation. And of course, that's going to depend on your demographic and socioeconomic status and things like that. Those aren't necessarily barriers for everyone. Um, and then in some communities, just the accessibility of services simply isn't there. Some communities have community mental health agencies, and they don't necessarily have access to private practitioners or clinicians such as yourselves. And then, in addition to that, unfortunately, a lot of minorities simply believe that therapy doesn't work. So, what do you guys have to say about that? What's your perspective?
I've been getting a influx of black males lately, and I'm pleased to announce that. And what I've been finding out from them, what they've been telling me, is that many of them have tried therapy before, and they found themselves speaking to uh, opposite gender, or just somebody that was Caucasian, and they didn't feel like that person could relate to them. They felt like a lot of times I hear them say, well, I know that the person was smart. I can tell that they're probably smart and good at what they do, but they can't relate to me. And then there's the whole idea of black male stigmatism anyway, of how strong we're supposed to be, how out front we're supposed to be. You know, we call each other king. And, you know, when you think of king, you don't think of weakness. But when you think of mental health and deficiencies in mental health, you do think of weakness. So it's taken a lot for Black men to admit that I'm in a weak place right now. And so I like the idea of being able to turn that theory around and let my brothers know that we all need help sometimes. That doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that you needed some help, and you have some help here. And so what I find is them saying it's just not a lot of people that look like them that's doing therapy. And so I introduced them to the Etoyas, to the Jerry Cottons, and some of the other Black male therapists that I know, and let them know, no, we are here. And you know what I'm saying? And we are working, and we're specifically here for you. Um, and so that, to me, that's been one of the largest barriers. And then access. People feel like they can't afford it. People still have insurance deficiencies out here, and even with that, some insurances come with a copay, and the people don't feel like they can keep that copay up. So doing I find myself doing pro bono work. I find myself using a sliding fee scale and asking them to find some place where they feel comfortable at, that they feel like they can keep it up for their visits. I find myself saying you pay for one and I pay for one, just so they can get the help that they need. So finances, Black male stigmatism, and the fact that they feel like it's just not enough people that look like them out there that's doing therapy.
That's great. You know, I'd like to just kind of chime in on that real quick. Tessie, you have no idea how important you are in the mental health field. I'm sure you have some idea, but for those of us African American females, we have so many clients contact us, grateful that they've been able to find an African American female. But when it comes to our men, they just don't have a lot to choose from. There's, you know, us African American females, we are few and far between as well. But African American males, it's like a unicorn, you know, like you, it's, and so Tessie, I'd like to ask you if you can provide us with maybe a list of other African American males, such as yourself, that maybe we can refer to. I think having that list is critical, because you know, I've contacted you on numerous occasions with
Certainly.
people who are looking for an African American male.
Yeah, it would be my absolute pleasure. I'm at home and not at my office now, so I don't have it together so that we can, number one, get those brothers working, and also, get some help in the hands of the people who need it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and just really to piggyback what Tessie's saying before I had some closing questions for the panel, it's very important to use a platform such as this to be able to highlight the therapists in the community, because I know that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you ask about a Black therapist, people kind of draw blanks. And so, I mean, it's a very important need to be able to identify, especially you, Tessie, and especially Toya. I forgot to give him a shout out. I got the shirt. You good, bro? Mental health matters. Mental therapies. Get online. But it's very important to highlight, you know, African American male therapists, because it's similar to what I've been reading on education. You know, some of the problems with education is that there's a lack of Black male teachers K to 12. And then when you start getting to the collegiate level, one of the reasons why I got my doctorate is so I can be a Black face for students in the business program, because you don't see many Black professors teaching business. And so it's definitely very important to make sure that we continue to not only, you know, share these resources, but to continue to advocate, you know, for mental health. And I'll tell you what, Tessie, personally, after meeting you virtually, you know, looking forward to meeting you face to face and knowing Toya, mental health has been in the forefront of my mind. And, you know, I try to make sure I'm more open with how I feel, and really just try to be better in expressing my words. And, you know, I never realized how much that was a challenge, but just hearing you without actually even going to a session with you really made an impact on me. And so that's why I'm very grateful for you to be able to be on the show. So thank you, as well as you ladies, because I think too that, Black women as well, it's good to see somebody that looks just like them, you know, to be able to relate to a lot of their personal experiences. So that way that they can heal too, because we as a community, we have to learn how to heal, and but it's better when we try to heal together. And that's really the focus of not only this episode, but for other shows as well. But I did want to touch up on this because I know we're getting short on time and this is a panel discussion. we today, unfortunately, 4 people lost their lives in Indianapolis over domestic violence. And from a academic perspective, I can easily point out and say that anytime that you have extreme recession, domestic, and I'm pretty sure therapists, I'm pretty sure you guys know this too, poverty increases, so does crime, so does violent assaults, and so does domestic abuse. And I don't know if it's more highlighted more today because it's social media and we're forced to be at home during a pandemic, but we just lost 4 souls in Indianapolis over stimulus money. And recently, as a week ago or 2 weeks ago, another young lady lost her life, as well as 2 of her children. I'm going off the top of my head, but 2 of her children over an estranged marital relationship. And so I would like to get you guys' expert opinion and perspective on this type of situations, and just any advice for anybody, whether they listen on the show tonight or if they play this show later. Just it hurts. It really hurts just to to see these notifications coming up over and over again. But as experts, please, any words of advice for those who may be in a very difficult situation where they feel like they cannot get out? Anybody? Cecilia?
So
I'm sorry. No, go ahead, Rachel. I'm sorry.
So I did see the one this morning, but I wasn't familiar with it. But I think in regards to the mother who lost her life and her 2 children, that just really hit home for me for a lot of reasons. And one thing that I think we have to do is not underestimate. Emotions is a strong feeling. When it's good, it's good, but when it's bad, it's dark. And so we cannot allow the thought of love itself, to override the common sense of wanting to leave or needing to leave. And knowing that if it feels bad, you got to go. And it's always safe to take that step than to the outcome that will come. One thing that I've been saying lately, and a lot, especially, just love doesn't hurt. Love does not hurt you. Love does not innocent lives that they can't make that choice unless you do. So men or women, because let's just be honest, there's a lot of men in domestic violence situations too. And for whatever reason, they're staying. But I think it's time to recognize that getting out is an option, and then begin to reach out to someone to help you do that, so that you and your children can truly live another day.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for that, Rachel. It's great information. Cecilia, Tessie.
You're still muted, Cecilia.
I'm sorry, I
That's okay.
thought I had pressed the
That's all
button.
good.
So I think one of the things is to have a working definition of what domestic violence is. Oftentimes, especially when I was working with teens, you would hear of such abusive behaviors between couples, and they would identify it as norms, like abuse, such as being controlling, such as telling you what it is that you can or cannot do, such as pulling you in a certain way, or gesturing certain behaviors towards you. So I think it's most important to, number one, to identify what abuse is. Anytime that someone is forcing you to move or behave in a way that you do not want to, and you don't feel safe enough to speak up about it, that could be a form of abuse. Abuse can show up as mental abuse, which is again, some of those controlling behaviors. It can show up physically by of course hitting, punching, slapping. It could show up as financial abuse, especially in marital situations, where one spouse is telling another spouse they can't do something, and they're withholding finances from them. And so to be able to recognize that, I think, is huge. We are in a space right now where stress is at an all-time high. And so being able to notice what's going on with you, how you're feeling, how your body is responding to certain situations can be telltale signs that it might be time to leave, that it might be time to step away and calm yourself down. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to go, go and leave your partner for hours, for days, but to say, you know what, I'm noticing I'm getting upset. If some of those folks in that situation, and I'm not very familiar with it, but if some of those folks in that situation could have noticed, I'm getting really upset, maybe I need to walk away, it probably could have changed the whole outcome of that situation. And so being able to notice how you're feeling, how you're responding in the moment, and giving yourself permission to leave, to calm down, I think is necessary. So I'm sorry for the delay, kind of caught me off guard, but just to honor that, if you don't know what domestic violence is, if you don't know what violence is, I want to encourage folks to start to, inquire about those things, seek out support, talk to your family members about what that could look like so that you're more informed on how to recognize it and how to deal with it when it comes up.
Okay, Terrence, or Carmel, somebody, you mute me if I do too much.
Nah, hey,
I can get
I want to
something.
hear it straight
Go
on
ahead and
station.
let it go.
Let it
I'm
go.
gonna start by saying this: love is not ownership. Love does not imply that you own someone. You own a car. You own clothes. You own a pet. You do not own a spouse or a significant other. You do not own children. They're yours, but they're not yours. And so if you understand what I'm saying to you, we have to start teaching this to children young, both male and female, that no one owns you. You don't have a right to someone else. I try to teach boys and men that you're privileged to be with a woman. You don't have a right to be with her. The right that you have is the right that she gave you, and she reserves the right to retract that right whenever she feels like it's right. So love is not ownership. We have to stop thinking that we own these women and then they have to do what we say do. No, my dog has to go sit when I say sit. My dog has to go outside when I say go outside. My wife can do whatever the hell she want to do with whoever the hell she want to do it with. And if it hurts my feelings, then I need to be man enough to pick my feelings up and go on somewhere till I heal and or get better. And we got to start teaching that to children now, because they're growing up with this mentality, that little girls are growing up with this mentality that I have to have a man. I have to be taken care of. In order for me to be whole, I have to have a man and children, and then I have to serve that man. No, that is a privilege. If that man loves you correctly, loves you affectionately, and puts you in a situation where you feel comfortable serving that man, that is the only time where that man gets served. But he should serve you too. It's the give and it's the take. We're not entitled. Someone has taught us and forced us and made us believe that we own somebody and that we're entitled to certain things. You're entitled to what that lady is privileged to give you. And then it's a privilege at the end of the day. And that's the mentality that we take into these relationships. If I can't have you, can't nobody have you. That I don't even, it's not even necessarily weakness. It's truly mental health. It's miseducation. Miseducation and mental health go hand in hand. If you miseducate yourself, you're going to go do the wrong thing. You do the wrong thing long enough, then you're not mentally strong anymore. We call that mental illness every day. We have to attack the problem at the source, and the source is that early education. That source is that early education. As parents, we have to start communicating better with our children so that they feel like they have a voice. If you raise a child in a home where you do what I say, don't do as I do it as soon as I tell you, you don't have an opinion, then they grow up as a person without an opinion and a voice. And so when they find themselves in trouble, they don't, not only do they know not what to say, they don't know who to say it to, because you've never listened to them. I constantly and consistently tell my daughter that she can do no wrong. If you need me, I'm coming. We'll fix it later, but I'm going to be the first one there for you. I tell that to my boys. Look, man, it's our responsibility to make sure that the first women in our lives are comfortable and good. We are protectors and providers. And I'm not finna go off into the Bible, but we can. I just need people to understand, man, that love is not ownership. That breaks my heart. That broke my heart when that man killed that young lady and those two children. That I cannot fathom. I cannot fathom receiving a phone call and something like that happened to a lady that I love and I know personally, because that broke my heart and I never met that lady before in my life. I would cease to exist. It's like we just got to stop. It starts now. There's no greater time than now to start teaching boys and men and these little girls that love is not ownership. It's not. Love is a privilege. And just like Rachel said, love don't hurt, man. Love don't hurt. Love not supposed to hurt you. You can't slap me in my face, say you sorry, and say you love me. You're not gonna do it no more. I don't trust you. You will do it again. If you being abused out there, like you have my contact information. If you find yourself in a situation, if you know you're in a situation right now, call me. I'll do anything I can to help you get out of it. You don't have to stay. If you need me to talk to your man to help him keep his hands off of you, send him to me. I will. There are lessons that can be taught and different ways of thinking. You don't have to do all of that. How weak are you if you got to slap her upside the head to get her to do what you say? Why would she want to have sex with you, man? You put your hands on her the wrong way. It doesn't even make sense. But I'm gonna end that with, listen, love does not imply ownership. You don't own somebody.
Somebody, somebody, please give Tessie a trophy. I am. I love everything you just said. Such a great message, so necessary. And can we just get a recording of that?
I mean, I tell you what, I mean, it felt like I was at the Essence Festival and stuff, and he was the headliner and stuff, almost like on cue. So that's
Yeah.
when he said, "Hey, can I go?" I say, "Straight no chaser." I mean,
Yeah.
so normally what we do for this particular season, we're trying to get more interactive, is that we try to have clips and highlights of the show that we post on the YouTube channel, Dr. Terrence Duncan. And I will definitely make sure that within the next couple of days, you will see their contact information posted again. I'll share it on social media. We do have the initial trailer that has the contact information, but we're going to hammer this mental health thing until we get it together. I mean, this is not a topic, that we can push aside, because if we can't take care of, if we can't take care of our own homes, if we can't take care of our own people, we're not going to win this battle against systemic and institutional racism. It starts with us. And, what Tessie was saying, I'm not going to go long-winded on it, but, my son, he's dating a young lady, and, it seems like they're starting to really get into each other. And I told him, it's like, hey, by the end of the day, she's a woman and she has a right to do whatever she wants to do. And you're just going to have to run with it, and make sure that you talk it out. But whatever you do, never put your hands on her. Never put your hands on her.
I do have one more thing, Dr.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
This is for any brother that might hear this message, man. If you feel like you have this woman that you can't live without, you feel like she has to do it. If you feel like you need that much control in a relationship, I'm telling you, as face to face as I can be, eye to eye like a man, you need to come see me. You need to come see me and get this education, because that's not how it works. It's just simply not how it works. And you shouldn't be feeling like that. Like, I know that hurts you, that bothers you. You feel lost at times. And so the only thing you have left is your might. Well, let me help you use more than just those muscles in your arms and your hands. Let me help you get your mind right, brother. This is not how it works, man. I don't care who taught you that, where you learned it at. I'm telling you, they taught you wrong. It's miseducation, and they're leading you down a path of mental unwellness. Come get this help. You don't own her, and you shouldn't want to own her. It's so much better when she's free. Man, it's so much better when she's free. These women have amazing power from the inside, man, from their souls, and they give it to you when you love them right. That's the type of love I can't do without. I just figured out how to keep it. So let me help you, brother. Like, I don't want to be down on you. I don't want you to feel like I just, only thing I support is women and you can't come talk. No, brother, I'm here for you. Let me teach you, man. Let me help you. And I got a team of men that work with me that'll help you as well. Now let us get you right, bro, because this ain't it. And please keep your hands off mine. Now I'm gone now.
Absolutely.
That's
And
awesome. That's awesome.
yeah, great way to end it, man. Tessie, man, I appreciate all y'all stuff. Tessie, man, you know, like I said, having a Black male therapist, have a Black perspective, you know, I mean, Tessie and I, we look like regular people, man. You know, it's not like we're not coming here with highfalutin suits and, you know, things like that. I mean, I always tell my client or my guests and stuff to make sure that they, you know, dress regular and stuff, because I want us to appear that, you know, when it's time to have those conversations, just to come up and just have that conversation. So, you know, I definitely appreciate the realness, Tessie. Rachel, first time meeting you, you were amazing. Thank you very much. Cecilia, second or third time, official friend of the show. Tessie, you're official friend of the show too. Rachel, we're gonna get you there. We're gonna get you that VIP pass, you know, and we just wanna kind of end the show showing like what all we have available as far as like content, because we don't wanna just be just a podcast show, but we're also want to be, you know, education, you know, we want to provide education, and we want to make sure that we're influencers as well. So we have books available on Amazon. Carmel has 2 books. I have 2 books. Carmel's 2 books, Your Exhilarating Life, Creating Family and Career Prosperity. That's on Amazon. Nurture Your Body, Overcoming and Preventing Obesity. That's on Amazon as well. I have a book on self-motivation and personal development called The 4 Fifths of Holistic Growth. That's on Amazon, as well as my approach to leadership in the 3rd book, which is focusing on Black social economic issues. That's going to be dope, mainly because of the fact that I'm coming up with almost 100 recommendations on everything from healthcare, education, financial independence, social justice, and employment. So, I mean, these are, you know, they're saying, well, what's your plan? You know, what's your approach? We're going to come with it. And this podcast is one of the vessels of the approach. And the people that are on this show, they're emissaries of that particular approach too. So yeah, we're building networks, we're building relationships, but we're not doing it for fame and notoriety. We're doing it so you guys can be able to see and meet the resources, you know, or the networks that you need, you know. So like Tessie said, hey, if you having problems with your woman, you know, come see this man so he can sit down and educate you. You know, go see a Toya. You know, don't just buy the T-shirt. Sit down with him and stuff and get his perspective. You know, I'm not a mental health specialist, but there's a lot of things I could talk from my perspective, from pain and from depression and alcoholism and things like that. You know, the things that I struggle with. You know, I mean, I had suicidal ideations in my 20s and 30s. You know, and I'm not ashamed to say that. But you know, just to be able to be open like that, you know, I mean, that's something that we have to start doing. So we start seeing each other. Hey, brother, how you doing? Hey, sister, how you doing? Queen, how you doing? Like Tessie said, we can't just be saying it just to be saying it. No, we have to live it, and we have to breathe it day by day. So thank you again, everybody, for listening to the show. Next week, we're going to have Queen Carmel. She's going to facilitate again. We're going to have several married couples on the show. We're going to have the Wilsons, Marcy and Fred Wilson. We're going to have the Thrill Kill. Okay. Larice and Jawan, and then
Larice and Jatan.
Jatan, I'm sorry, man. He's gonna get mad at y'all. And then Lydia Neal.
Yes.
They're going to be our guests on our show next Tuesday. We live stream every Tuesday for between now and May, 7:30 Central Standard Time. And you know, the simulcast will actually be recorded. We'll upload it on YouTube by Friday, and so that way everybody can see it in different facets. And then the following week, we're going to have Dr. Ahmad Rahim from Syracuse, and Dr. Wayne Richards, originally from New Orleans, but he stays in Huntsville, Alabama now. They're going to talk about their life coming up from their background, overcoming their learning disabilities to become college professors and to be community activists and stuff, where they're raising money for, you know, different social activist causes, as well as promoting higher education. So next 2 weeks, we're really looking forward to it. That's basically it for tonight on March the 16th. Dr. Terrence Duncan with the Queen, Carmel Brown, Tessie Amos, Rachel Jackson, Cecilia Carter, Mahogany Thoughts. We out.
Good night.